Hello everyone, there was a bar sales in Las Vegas, July the 12th, 2025. Sandy and Sean Tracy were there, and there are interviews. In this video I want to talk about the Sean Tracy interview. This is not a summary, I only talk about things I find important. Links to the full videos are in my first pinned comment below.
Hello everybody, my name is Sean Tracy, in case you don't know me. Actually, my title's changed since so I'll announce my promotion anyways now. I am now... Oh, hold on. I am now Chief Executive Officer. No, I'm just kidding. Of course not.
I was like, really?
Are you fucking joking?
We want to break news here at Quantum, but...
No, so it's Managing Director of Technical Operations. And what it is basically myself within CTG with Benoit, with Marco, run the entire of the technical department. So it's basically engine, tools, networking, all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that isn't part of a feature team or a dev team happens within CTG. So the three of us will be running that entire department, which is quite a lot of engineers and quite a lot of interest coming into that team, definitely.
You know, people are worried about Star Citizen staying cutting edge.
I find the wording very interesting because Star Citizen is not cutting edge. Characters and ships look beautiful, landscapes not so much, and there are massive LOD, culling and lighting issues.
It's a great question, and it's an important topic, especially because we've been running as long as we have. And the reminder I would make is that we are out, right? You guys are playing it right now.
Interesting. So it's an alpha. It's now released. Is Star Citizen alpha? Is Star Citizen released? Is Star Citizen a live service game?
Is most pressing to my role and my job is that we're running a live service game in the middle of our development. So we can't do that without the feedback.
We're a live service.
This is a live service MMO game that we're building.
We have maintained and released a game over the course of these years for so long and have kept up.
Very interesting. So Star Citizen is now released. So no more it's an alpha. Of course, Star Citizen is not released. Star Citizen has a lot of issues. Not even basics and basic mechanics are done. There are not even some very basic physics. We have 2 out of 100 star systems, etc. And the engine is getting really ancient and obsolete. I'm not saying CRG should switch to a modern engine. This would take at least 3 to 4 extra years. Years CRG doesn't have anymore. The problem is more than 12 years working on a game has those issues. You have an old engine by now. This should never have happened. And of course 1.0 is at least 5 years away.
I wouldn't say we're at risk of massively falling behind as we sit right now.
Sean, you're falling behind for many years by now. Your engine has massive LOD, lighting and culling issues. And CryEngine was never meant to be used for an MMO. Just look at the mess we have right now in the universe with massive lag and even do things of players moving at player speeds. So why did Chris choose CryEngine? Because back in the days Crytek had massive layoffs. A lot of Crytek people were looking for a job. That's the reason. Chris did not care that CryEngine was not suitable for an MMO.
One of the biggest ones, honestly, guys, is Chris Roberts. He is a technophile. He loves this stuff. Not only does he love game development itself, but the technology that enables game development. So when you have a CEO that's, his ears to the ground all the time. So when there's an obscure GDC talk about something real fancy and nice and hard, right, you might get a message from Chris going, hey, I was looking around at this, check this out.
Thank you very much, Sean, for mentioning this. Chris saw something in another game, another video, and Chris wants to have it in his game too. Yeah, feature creep galore. There's one point where you have to say, okay, we have not enough features for our first version. We can add other features later. But no, Chris always is wasting time and money with his fantastic ideas and reworks of reworks of reworks of reworks of reworks, because having a plan, having a concept, thinking things through is for other people, but not for Chris.
I want to be able to give all the Star Citizen developers, all the Squadron 42 developers, an engine and tool set as good as Unreal, as good as Unity. So that all comes behind it. So we have to know what's going on with it. But tons of what they do is not at all fit for purpose for us. So what we prefer to do is take the solved problem that they may have, but make it fit for purpose for us. So we'll take the idea, reapply it, and take it further.
This sounds very good, very reasonable, but there's one issue. CryEngine, Star Engine has massive LED culling and lighting issues. CryEngine, Star Engine was never meant to be used for an MMO. Of course, it's not the right thing to just jump to the next hype engine. CRG couldn't even do this, even if they wanted, because this would take a lot of extra time. Even now, after the first iteration of server meshing, we still have massive lag and do-things. We have do-things of players moving at player speeds. It was a terrible idea to prolong game development over more than 12 years. Even Chris said back in the days, max 2 years. Remember, release date of Star Citizen and Squadron 42 was November 2014. Yes, 2014.
Do you think about licensing Star Engine as a technology outside of CIG?
Not really, no. There's a couple reasons for that. One is part of our agreements are that we're not going to do that. But that doesn't mean that we can't license any technology at all. We just won't ever license the engine as the Star Engine to EA Games to go make, whatever. I don't see that happening.
CRG couldn't license Star Engine, there would be massive lawsuits. CRG doesn't have the rights to the engine. CRG modified CryEngine Lumberyard, but this doesn't give them the right to the engine. And even if CRG could do this, who would license an ancient and obsolete engine with massive lighting, culling and LED issues? An engine with massive lags and do-things?
Are we in a place now? We're in a place now that we absolutely were not a couple years ago in terms of tool sets, of scaling, of ability to get content through. You've seen the speed of the content now that we're actually able to get through. That was a big part of the tool set, a big part of the things that we needed to do.
CRG is still playing the same song and dance. Yeah, we have now the new tools and now we are so much faster. CRG is saying the same thing for more than 12 years by now. I even made a compilation. Thank you, Sean. This will be in the update.
When they see you, they often want to, and I know you're probably tired of this, but they want to talk about theaters of war.
Wow, you are really soft with Sean Tracy. You are buttering him up. Let's see what Sean Tracy had to say about Theaters of War in February 2020.
So basically, it's got to be fun when we get there. And there's no reason to wait. We've got to start putting that stuff together now. And a big part of theaters is it's really, you're playing stuff that is already there. That was the whole mentality of this. So yes, did we build a new planet? Not a brand new planet. We put some new sort of compounds and setups within a new bit of lore onto basically pre-existing assets, right? There was a couple new things that we added, but I'm sure we'll get into that as we go throughout this. But not a whole ton. This wasn't like making a whole new game. This was like taking all the content that we've already got, putting it together in a bit of a structured scenario, and getting it fun.
Next question, it's the obvious one, we knew it was coming. Where are we in development now? The mode was playable at CitizenCon, but we don't have any clear information on a specific release. Not 3.9 is what we're talking. It's not currently on the roadmap.
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
So, what I said at CitizenCon is still stands true, right? I wanted to get it in the first half of this year. I want to get it in the hands of the backers for testing. That's the whole thing. We're very much on track for this. We're not behind at all because, again, we're not coming up with a whole ton of new stuff. We're putting a lot of structure around it. There's a couple of features here and there, like things that are really specific to the game mode, like, again, mobile spawn points and unlockable spawns and objective and destroy spawns and these things. But they're relatively isolated. They aren't huge system things. They're very, very much game mode things. So I want to get it into the backers' hands in the first half of this year because, again, we want the feedback, because what we're doing right now is we're working off of all the feedback from CitizenCon already.
You are directly experiencing it all the time. So I don't know if you noticed the mining laser from the last event anyways. That's the Theaters of War mining laser.
Right.
If you noticed the HABs and everything at the Worm events, that's all Theaters of War. We basically, right, have reapplied in. Generally, what we'd love to be able to do is do Theaters of War in the PU, right? Like, just as Star Citizen, you go to a planet, that's just happening.
Okay. Now, Sean Tracy went from, I want to have it in the hands of the backers first half 2020. We are very much on track for this. We are not behind at all. To, yeah, now we put it into the PU. Who do you think you're talking to, Sean Tracy? Who do you think you're fooling? The main issue with Fears of War, CitizenCon 2019 and 2020, when it was in the hands of Evocati, was massive lag-inducings on a very small map with a very limited amount of players. Throwing a hand grenade was suicide. Yeah, sounds familiar. Even on a very small map with a very limited amount of players, CRG's netcode couldn't handle the traffic.
What are your thoughts on paints? Have you all been looking at paints? Is that something that's on the back burner?
I don't know. I honestly do not know, because it's in a group and under John in the ship team a little bit. I'm not directly involved with paints or their sale or their creation, but I am in their pipeline, like in the tools that they use to actually make tints and do these kind of things. And I can tell you that as a developer, making a bunch of tints isn't, it doesn't take months and months and months of time or anything like that. But to forward face a paint customizer that would include like drawing and stuff, that's significant. That takes some doing. I don't know if that's planned. If it is, I don't envy the people that will go after that one, because that's a tough one to do.
No one is asking for complicated skins. All we are asking for is to have an editor to change the 4 default colors to 4 new ones. This is trivial, this is easy, this is what Chris promised us more than 10 years ago.
But it's pretty cool. So yeah, so for what will be happening going forward is now we'll be able to roll out, different sort of, first of all the skins that we've already promised, but probably some new ones, and at some point we'll allow tools for people to be able to sort of do their own paint job.
Actually, this is exactly what CRG does. Most of the very expensive paints are just color swaps. Change original 4 colors to 4 new ones, profit. CRG can do this in like a minute. But CRG is making tons of money with very easy to do paints, so I guess things will not change anytime soon.
Essentially Project Genesis at the last CitizenCon.
Yep.
And you didn't talk about it really as Planet Tech V5. You just sort of said Planet Tech and just the next set of evolutions.
Yeah.
How's that coming along? When the guy was wading through the swamp and the log sort of moved, yeah. I kind of lost my breath.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people were just like, oh, very cool. Do you think that that's the type of tool that we'll have a seminal moment and then stuff will drop, or will we see like shorter, smaller integrations as we go?
No, it'll have a moment.
Yeah,
it'll have a moment. It'll drop. It's going well. It's mainly in and involved with Planet Tech team graphics, moving it through. We call it internally V5. Really,
Okay.
We do. It's just easier to say V5
right.
when we're talking about the next iteration of it. Absolutely. So yeah, it's coming along. I don't have a timeline for it. Like I have an idea, but I don't want to say it because I don't really know where it's at because I haven't reviewed it specifically. Anyways, but yeah, by all indications, it's coming along okay.
Translation: what we showed you at CitizenCon 2024 was just another faked video made for CitizenCon. Don't expect it to be in a game in the next 5 years.
Or tech do we need for things like the garage door opener or remote control on doors for ships, or maybe from
Yeah,
the glass.
we could do that now, right? Like
Right.
we could do that now. Yeah.
Did you like that question? You all asked it, so.
I agree with you guys. Yeah, we should have again. Like, for me, I'd be enough. And clap if you agree. On the Moby Glass, just like
Lock my ship.
Thing.
Unlock my ship.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. That like. I totally agree. Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
You can do this now, so why don't you do it? Why can't we lock our ships? What about the permission system? Chris and CHE are talking about the permission system for more than 10 years by now. A captain of a ship sets permissions, who can use the helm, who can use the turret, who can use the bathroom, etc. Still not in the game.
This is the exact same problem that we're going to encounter over and over and over again that we've talked about, which is, well, if somebody boards your ship, can they basically just sit in the pilot seat and go? And that's the way it is right now. But if eventually we're going to have much more of a security system concept. And so, irregardless of the fact that I allow other players onto my ship, that doesn't necessarily mean that I, as captain, have basically given them the keys to the thing.
Well,
so if I disappear,
you may not give them the permission to use the helm. They may have the permission to walk all around or use turrets or whatever, but
and so I
may
see
not have the keys to the ignition.
Yeah, I can see the captain, the owner of the ship, basically designating who can do what. In other words, if I'm disconnected, then my navigator, whether it's an NPC or a player, can basically assume control of piloting the craft. But I, in advance, basically said how I want the ship to, how I want the crew of the ship to be able to respond in this particular scenario.
The technical challenge that I understood the least and had the most admiration for the solution for was server meshing. That stuff I was super excited about and impressed by because it was the last piece of the puzzle for Star Citizen. So I was over the moon once we were doing that.
Yes, since 4.0 beginning of 2025, we have not a first iteration of static server meshing. However, as long as we still have massive lag and those things, I don't consider this now done. It's not done. Of course, the next carrot is already on the way. Dynamic server meshing will fix everything now. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
So essentially the process kind of begins with we want to get these pre-configured schemes done. So you could, for example, go off and go, oh, you know what, I want a NASA themed kind of skin, or I want a District 9 themed skin, or I want a pink Hello Kitty themed skin. And then essentially we as artists create basically they're material files. They're tiny in memory. They're so small that we can have hundreds of them if we want to, because they're all calling the same textures. That's what's done under the hood, okay? Once those material files are created and obviously named accordingly and sanity checked that the emblem is called emblem and the submaterial ID is called submaterial ID 1, 2, and 3, they have to be the same names. That's then handed to tech design to then kind of set that up with the loadout that they're putting together for that ship. Further forward, we want these kind of paint configurations to become hex codes. So if you're in like a guild of 20 players, and the clan leader said, all right, this is our paint scheme, there's going to be no guessing work. You get the hex code, you put it in there, and it automatically will say, oh, you know what, we've got matte black against yellow against pink, something crazy, and every ship in your fleet, you can put that hex code on and it will automatically go into that color configuration. So there's a lot of kind of cool things, and as artists we do this stuff all day every day, and we were just like, well, why wouldn't we give the end user this functionality? So that's the overall plan. There is a lot of kind of very things you have to be careful with when you're authoring the shaders for this stuff, so it can accommodate these options, but we're on top of that, and that's kind of, yeah, it's good. That's what we're doing on the initial kind of burst of ships right now. I think it's really cool, and it's really amazing to see, today I just kind of caught up with the guys and looked at what we're working on for that stuff, and there's a fleet of 50 ships, all with different skins, all with different loadouts, and it injects color into the game. You can have your kind of personal things going on, which is kind of cool. If I was going to pick one to fly and customize myself, I've always got a sweet spot for the Avenger. If it was me, I'd probably go for a dirty chrome kind of finish. The shape is just kind of so kind of primitive. To get some kind of highly reflective material on it, I think would just look super cool in space. So that's what I would go for.
Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter or on Blue Sky.